Okay, folks, so here we are with another 1997 Blazer, Chevy Blazer, 4.3 liter, 4x4. This customer came to me with the complaints of a check engine light on and not being able to pass emissions. Apparently, they've spent a lot of money trying to pass emissions, but haven't had any luck so far. So we went ahead and we ran the code, and we found that there was a P0420, which is catalyst below threshold efficiency bank 1. In other words, it's saying that the catalytic converter is not working. However, the catalytic converter on this vehicle is brand new and it is working. So we went ahead and we diagnosed the O2 sensors and found out that when the catalytic converter was changed, the O2 sensors were not changed. And honestly, if you're going to spend the money to change an catalytic converter, you should probably just go ahead and spend the extra $20 or $40 it takes to change out the O2 sensors. So in order for that to work, and in order to fix that, we'll need to change out the O2 sensors, and then also possibly look at a tune-up. Now, the type of tune-up you would probably want to do in this case scenario, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring the temperature of the cylinder down below 1200 degrees so it doesn't produce hydrocarbons, would probably just to be to change out the spark plugs. Brand new spark plugs are one way to bring the temperature of a cylinder down so you have better emissions. So, however, another issue that we found on this vehicle, when we went to start this vehicle, we noticed that it kind of made a nice rattle ticking noise as if it didn't have any oil in it. And we also noticed that there was not only a check engine light on, but also a check gauges light. You see that check gauges light? Now, that light should go off when you start the car, and before I added any oil to it, it wasn't. We had both of those lights on. Now all we have is a service engine soon light on. I had also noticed that my oil pressure was not properly working. And so I went ahead and turned the vehicle off and I checked the oil in it. Now, even after starting the vehicle, I have something interesting to show you. Okay. Let me wipe this oil dipstick off. I mean, first of all, even after starting the vehicle, it still registers that you need to add oil to the dipstick. Now let's wipe this dipstick off. I'm going to set the camera down. Okay, now I've cleaned the dipstick off, you can see, and I'm going to reintroduce it back into the engine. Okay, I'll let it sit there for a minute and let as much oil get onto it as I can. Now I'm going to pull it. Look at that. Look, that's all the oil that's registered in this engine. Check this out. Okay, so we're going to clean that little dab off. We're going to do this one more time. Add that in. And again, notice that little tiny spot, that is how much oil is in this engine. And so in other words, this engine has no oil whatsoever in it. Now, in order to do my diagnosis this morning, I did have to start and run the engine. And so I went ahead and I picked up a quart of oil on my own. And that 1 quart of oil is what registered, is what turned the check gauges light off. And it's also what registered my oil pressure. But before I added that quart of oil, this engine registered almost no oil pressure and had a check gauges light on. So I went ahead and decided to take a peek as to where all the oil went. And if you go underneath here, you can see, and this is typical on Chevy, these oil lines are known for blowing and going out. And I don't know, I mean, you can just see how cracked and blasted the rubber is. I mean, it's just completely leaking oil out of there. So that's where all the oil's going. So these oil cooler lines are no good. And then these oil cooler lines right here, if you can see up into there, these are no good as well. And I mean, they're not just no good, but they're just dropping oil everywhere. And the reason why you didn't see anything is because your 4x4 shield is here. And as you can see, it's just covered that. I mean, it's puddled. So, but as of right now, all the rubber is still good. This oil leak can't be too old because all the rubber and everything underneath here is still pretty clean and still good. So if we fix this now, then there won't be any problems in the future. So that's why this engine has no oil, is because the oil lines are bad. So, and then also, the other thing that we noticed is that the half shaft for the up front 4x4 is also not in good shape anymore. And so it'd probably be very wise to change that. So after our diagnosis, we now know that we need O2 sensors, we need oil cooler lines, and we need a up front CV half shaft on the passenger side. So I will present this video to my customer on YouTube and see where he wants me to go from here.